Hello, my name is David Jalali. I am the author of the book Terrorism, the Truth. Today is December 26, 2020, and I would like to take the opportunity to wish everybody happy holidays and safe holidays and healthy holidays. Today is actually December 26th, the day after Christmas. First of all, I would like to say that I am a researcher and an academic that spend hours a day researching for the past 20 years the uh, issues facing humanity. One of them is terrorism, which I've written a book that is available on Amazon.com. First of all, I would like to say that whatever I say is to promote peace and is not for the people who are looking for violence. People who are looking for violence should not be listening. The reason I say whatever I say is to promote peace is that I personally do believe after being an academic, studying, being in school almost, I'm over 60, almost 50 years of more than 50 years of my life being in school and also being a self-employed. And I have experience and also always been researching and studying. I've come to the conclusion that ignorance is a human number one enemy, as Martin Luther King says, as Einstein says, we cannot make peace by force. You can make peace by understanding. And understanding comes through awareness and not ignorance. And also, Einstein also says that there are two infinites, one universe and one human stupidity. I am not sure about universe, Einstein. And Shakespeare says ignorance is dark. And there are other smart, great people said good things, mostly relating to ignorance and awareness. That ignorance will create wars, destruction, terrorism, criminal activities. Actually, criminals are stupid. Therefore, stupidity is a crime. Earl Ron Hubbard. Now, I do believe that is true too. Therefore, my intention is to promote awareness and fight the ignorance in the society which is causing violence, destruction, terrorism, and destroying lives. My intention is to promote peace, coexistence, and harmony through knowledge. I have done research on my own, and I still do basically few hours a day. I read, study, and basically do research on various subjects, which I would like to share with you. At this time is during holidays and the time of happiness for everybody, but unfortunately, due to coronavirus, the death numbers are the highest in United States than any other place in the world. Despite of the fact that United States is the richest and most technically advanced country in the world, but it still lags in taking care of its people because in US, what I have conclusion, I've lived most of, if not all my life here, and studied here basically from, prior to college and then university and have various degrees and also I do research, as I said, and I've come to the conclusion that because the money is the value of money that is thought to bring power correctly, which it does, is more than life of the people. So when money becomes more valuable than the life of the people, then we have the problem of the increasing death and destruction for money. During these happy holidays, one of the things that I've conclusion I've made in my life is that no matter what a person's belief, race, national origin, or all of these particular characteristics of an individual is an individual should be judged based on their behavior, not on what they say or not on religion they believe, because all the religions, from what I have studied about various religions, Judaism, Muslim, Christian, other ones, Buddhas, all of them preach coexistence and being kind to one another, and helping the needy and the food for the food, so nobody will be hungry. But unfortunately, a lot of especially politicians during our days use the religion to gather masses to basically accomplish their satanic and evil agenda to kill masses to profit a minority of chosen ones. Now, I will describe that more what I mean by that. And when people are aware of this, they will not fall into the trap of killing one another and volunteer to go kill people thousands of miles away, thinking that they are either defending their religion or um, their home. Because everybody's home is where the person lives, not in somebody else's home. Under the false pretext of, as I said, this either religion, human rights, freedom. So the evils in our societies around the world in different countries use these tactics to get people in wars, in killing and destruction, so they can profit themselves. That's why people who are ignorant follow those. People who are aware, they will question everything and they will make the right decision and better choices to not only improve their own life, but improve the lives of other humans all over the world. Because our only life, the world is a smaller, getting smaller and smaller. Our life here in our home will only be better if the life of other people on the other side of the world is better, is improved. We cannot have a better life at the price of destruction and killing of people thousands of miles away, thinking we're going to have better life. Because as the history says, as Truman well says, future is the history we have not read. Unknown about the future is the history we have not read. So, in order to know the future, we have to read the history. History shows us that if we today commit a crime on the other side of the world, it is a matter of time for us to pay back, maybe in multifold. It's called blowback. So, if, for example, the government of United States, usually when I name a country, one more thing I repeatedly say that whenever I name a country, I mean the government, because a country has three parts, people, geographic characteristics, and the government. Geographic, America, for example, is a beautiful country. People, American people, I lived among them all of my life. I think they're great people, like all other people around the world. And depending on the culture, some people change, they are different. But that doesn't mean they are bad. It's just different because their culture is different. You have to accept that. And then in the all good, so people are like all other people all over the world are good people, and they're bad people everywhere. Now comes the government. It's the government we refer to when we name a country. For example, government of the United States. Right now, I talked about coronavirus. death, I'd like to give you statistics on coronavirus, and I give you some more statistics in America. And my videos that I make that are in English, which I'm talking about these issues, I name them like Making America Great number 8. This is number 9 video I put out in this series, Making America Great number 9. Because I don't think what the Trump is doing is making America great, as you know, because I tell you later as I explain why I don't think that's the case. Which what I'm telling you is going to make America great if it follows. And as a member of the society and a researcher that I do study and research, I feel I am obligated to my people who live around me in the society I live. I at least what I discover to be fact, and what I do not have any claim of any give anybody advice either in engineering, business, or law, which I have studied, but I only share what I have discovered through my research. And you want to know whether that is true or not? I'm not asking you to believe me. Believe nobody. In God we trust. I believe in that too. But whatever I say, you're welcome to research it on Google and then see if I'm telling you the truth or not. And then if it's not, then you teach me. You go ahead and tell me where it by leaving comments. Let me know which portion is incorrect so I can learn from you. Because as we learn more, I have experience in life that we still learn that we don't know enough. And but that doesn't mean we stop learning. So what I'm telling you, it can be researched, and then I do have come, I, I have come to conclusion that is true what I'm telling you, unless proven otherwise. Now, let me give you coronavirus status. I use a site wordometer actually is called a coronavirus cases as of December 26, 2020. In America is 19,225,273. And this death 338,350 people. Recovered 11,263,040. This is like almost 340,000 deaths by the time we finish, because every day is around $3,400. It's actually a 9/11 daily in America. 9/11, around 3,000 people died, but in every day right now in America, between 3 to 3,500 people die. Recently. So that is even more than 9/11. See, that's not making America great. That's what I mean. Now, had while I'm on the issue of coronavirus death, I should mention that I also research, and I am sure you know that Trump administration last year has a military budget of almost 740 billion, with the supplements probably is around 1 trillion, and spent $76 billion improving atomic bombs in the United States to destroy more, to be one or two of the a couple of the existing atomic bombs, nuclear bombs in US. You can blow up the whole earth. I don't know why do we have to spend $76 billion to build, make it more stronger. Do we want to destroy the whole universe? That's the question should be asked. But that is the reason the government does that is because creates some people want to make more money, coming back to the same money, and those people make money off of these contracts to do this kind of jobs. I was reading an article in the newspaper during the past 3.5 years, 4 years, Trump administration, basically his son-in-law Kushner has had established a company through Trump's campaign, paid himself, actually his family members, basically the people, Trump's family members, $617 million within the past 3 years, 3.5 years or so. And he recently, Kushner and Trump's daughter, Ivanka, recently bought a $30 million house in Miami. So where do you think these monies, these 76 billion or $1 trillion difference, goes to these people? Doesn't go to the ordinary Americans. Ordinary Americans within the past year have received $600 from the government, and that took them 6 months to approve, where they had probably multiple votes to give pay raise to McCollum, I guess, senators or the congressmen, they give, coronavirus vaccine comes, they get it first. Raise comes, they get it first. And now these contracts goes to these companies that the stocks are probably owned by these senators and congressmen in the government, or maybe Trump's family get a bunch of. So see, there is a ruling class in America that is controlling the wealth of the America, and they give it to either the people who contribute to their campaign to get elected, or to these corporations which are owned by the family members, as we see. While currently the statistics I have, over 44 million Americans are insured. These are government statistics, but actually, real statistics are a lot more. And there are like out of every four kid in America starves, basically doesn't have enough food to eat. That 25% of the kids population. Let's say, now I have other data that more than I was writing this down actually before I came to talk to you. 1 in 9 Americans starve. So meaning that that is almost more than 40. The same way we say, 50 million Americans are almost starving now. Almost 44, 50 million without insurance. Now we have 43,000 millionaires in America get over $1 million from these COVID-19 coronavirus packages, stimulus packages the Congress passes. You see, the 43 millionaires get more than $1 million. You see how that goes? So, and then the rest of Americans, now they want to fighting whether they give a typical American who's starving, probably on the street, is going to be kicked out of his home pretty soon. Within the year, we're going to have foreclosure is going to be high, homeless is going to be high. Like millions of Americans live on the street, they're homeless, they're starving. But they don't even get $600 or $1,200 or 2,000. Congress is fighting for 6 months a year to this, whereas Trump administration give his family members to the company $617 million, and 43 millionaires in America is each going to get more than $1 million stimulus package. Do you see? Nobody talks about these, or the billions of dollars that go big atomic uh, bombs. Whereas right now, 340,000, 338,000 and some change, almost 340,000 people by the end of the day today, Americans are going to die because of lack of medication, PPEs, medical care. They're putting them in the outside in the tents and stuff in the richest country in the world. But because all the money is in the hands of a few the evil ones. Now, the same people who invade, who take Americans to get killed overseas, to invade countries, how are we going to make America great is by these are the statistics what the country is going right now. Within the next year, the foreclosure is going to be, homeless is going to be more, starvation is going to be more, death is going to be more, and then the country is basically right now almost 99% of its GDP is in debt. Almost country, it's like you buy a house. You remember back in 2008, you buy a house for 500,000, and you have a loan on it, or owing $500,000 on the house, so you don't really have any assets. That's why people walk away. They're paying into a house which is in negative zone. So better off they go rent someplace. Now, The same thing happened to America right now. That is the situation America is in right now. And that is because of these billionaires who sitting on the top or doing like they don't care about everybody except money. Now, why do they? I say they don't care for everybody because look at this. For example, America is spending all these billions of dollars in military budget, keeping troops in Iraq, Syria, in Persian Gulf, and trying to attack Iran, assassinating scientists in Iran, assassinating generals of Iran to create a war because those weapons that have been built with all these billions of dollars, they want to use those, test them, and then some. But who goes and tests these? Some ordinary poor kids. Poor kids go to military. A lot of these people, if that are U.S. military, if you ask a lot of them, they come to the military because they don't have a job. They are poor, they can't do anything. They go get killed, crippled, and they come back to country and they go and get on the streets or, look at all the veterans that are. They don't take care of them. Some of them start shooting people, commit crime, become police and kills Americans. You see, that's how the cycle of destruction that's hurting America. All this money invested in military budget and create wars. Now, I'm going to tell you how to make America great, but I have to give you this data first, this information. Right now, look at America foreign policy. Basically, let's talk about that. We talked about domestic policy, that the money that's supposed to be spent on healthcare, education, and infrastructure of the country is spent on making bigger bombs, more military budget, and goes to millionaire and billionaires in this country. Now, on the outside, to making the country safe, United States, has troops in Iraq. In 20 years, I've been in Iraq since 2003, almost 17 years in Iraq. What good has brought to Iraq, United States? Right? Destruction, division, terrorism, and chaos. And finally, the Iraqis have their government, some sort of a broken democracy, and the parliament voted for U.S. troops to leave Iraq. Means the Iraqis, they're representative of the Iraqi people by majority of them. I'm not saying 100% of parliament, but over 50% of them, which is a majority in a democratic society and should be respected. The law passed by the majority. They requested United States to take its troops and leave out of Iraq because they said this is source of instability, terrorism, and chaos in our country. But United States refuses to leave. And then this is going to, now they turn it into an occupation force, which they have been all along, but they have been putting a face on it like a human rights, freedom, and democracy. These are nothing is further than the truth. See, America, their history, as Truman well says, read the history tells you the future. Look at the past 70, 80 years since World War II, since 1915 that the Wilson came up with this idea of human rights. He knew himself there was a lie when he came up with this. What it was a smart idea is to try to fool the fools. Because as Churchill well said, in order to take over a country, all you need is a minority of traders and a majority of ignorant. So how do you minority of traders, you can find them. Like, for example, you see this propagandists, for example, in Iran, again, since that is hot today, you have these people in Iran, they do demonstrations, and then from here, United States, there are propagandists that maybe they committed a crime in Iran or assassinated somebody or did stole money or commit some sort of crime, either theft, assassination, murder, and these things. And they escape from the country through borders, for example, come to U.S. because U.S. is close to Iran. And they have bases in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Turkey, and Arab small puppet dictatorships south of Persian Gulf. So these Iranians, when they commit a crime, they go into these one of these countries and they become they ask for asylum from United States, basically immigration, saying that if we go back to our country, we get prosecuted. Some of them may be right because either they commit a crime, the same crime that you commit in the United States, you get jail term, or you get maybe even be prosecuted for treason. Or but if you are one of the Trump's acquaintances or president's family circle, he may pardon you later. But still, the law works as due process. It gets to court, it prosecutes you, and it convicts you as a crime. But if the president pardons a criminal, that's a different story because the president himself is a criminal. Like Trump is a mafia, basically. He's not, as you know, because the way he acts is like a mafia. But as Robert De Niro well said, he's not a good one either because he's stupid. So you see what has done to the country. I don't need to say anymore. But all of these people come and get asylum, and then the government of the United States, like Secret Service, CIA, MI6, Mossad, they approach him and they say, okay, we give you this much money, you come work for us, we even help you write a book, or we give you articles to read, and we give you money to make videos and talk about, create propaganda, and they make a hero out of a criminal and try to create chaos in those countries, like in Iran, and then to topple democratic elected government in Iran. Because, as you know, if you read the history of Iran, within the first had democracy in 1920, in actually 1905, they had constitutional monarchy. But in 1920, British did a coup d'etat, brought a general in the power, Reza Khan, and killed that democracy in Iran, which only lasted 15 years. And then in 1953, 51 actually, there was, after the World War II, the centralized government was weak, so the people got freed elections. They had a couple of parliaments that they freely elected, and they elected a prime minister to go back to the constitutional monarchy again. But US did a coup d'etat with UK at this time and toppled the democratically elected government of Dr. Mossadegh and put the Shah in the power until 1978, basically stealing 80% of the country's income from oil and gas, which are documented in the book, various books. One of them, Stephen Kenzer, All the Shah's Men. That's a good book. Or the book Overthrow, or Chomsky's lectures, if you do. These are documented in George Washington University archives too. And then in 1979, by this time, it was a revolution again, but this time the religious people came to the power, but were not Western educated like Dr. Mossadegh to be able to be overthrown. So, in order to stabilize their own government, because they found out that U.S. was plotting through their embassy to overthrow them, so they basically took over their own embassy as a hostage until they built up the foundation of their government, become strong, and then they let everybody go, and they have been in power up to now. But see, each time any government which commits a coup d'etat in another government, that's a hard power, that's through violence, then the answer would be violence. That's called blowback. That is what I'm saying, what I'm trying to get at, that United States foreign policy will cause a blowback to make our life in the United States unsafe. Everything I say is to create awareness to not support policies that create violence, terrorism, and chaos in other countries, because that's bound to hurt us in America, make our society unsafe. I want our society to be safe. That's why I'm giving this information so people become aware of what is going on. They can make better decisions to promote peace and stability, to get the government representatives to change their foreign policy of invasion, occupation, toppling democratically elected governments to replace them with the puppet dictators like Iran, Egypt, Guatemala, Nicaragua, El Salvador. For example, in South America, Bolivia, or other countries like Jordan, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, those countries are puppet dictators either imposed by British through coup d'etat or United States or both together. Now, if you read the history, you will go the research, you'll find out why I'm saying this. Now, supporting these dictators, which only these dictators only make the people in those countries our enemies because people read, they are not stupid, they go to universities, they read paper, and they find out because their governments who is running those countries, they never were elected. So people know that they came in with a coup d'etat and they people do not have any choice to say anything in the government. Then US goes and make deals with these countries and try to fool Americans of the world that we are trying to make peace in the Middle East. For example, look at United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, which they have problem in their own country. They have never been elected. They're put in power by the British in early 70s, and they cut their head if somebody even dares to criticize the king or the sheikh. Never had one day of election in their country. Basically, they pay United States Army to protect them in their power, just like a company, you put a manager in power. But manager is not elected by the people. In company, they may people are free, at least in US, to have union, have something to say, get their rights. But in those countries, people it's illegal to unite, to have unions and have like parties or parliaments. And like in Sudan, with the military coup d'etat right now in power, like in Morocco, another puppet dictator king who is in force. There is no election in Morocco. Get those countries, bring them in, and with another country they built in the Middle East, like Israel, which is a racist, apartheid Zionist. Now, why do we say it's a racist? Because it's built based on one religion. Yeah, it's built after World War One and World War Two, British, they said they tried to bring the Jews from all over the world to Palestine. At the time, it was called Palestine, and then they declare a country, and United States and Europe basically they support them, and these people keep bringing people from outside based on religion. You have to be Jew or with Jewish parents, so you get a free land and free money to build your home. And the people who have lived there thousands of years, generations, they're being kicked out, killed, massacred, raped, and all those things. It's just like they are not human. And this country that U.S. is trying to build, called Israel, that is based on racism. Why are there apartheid? Because there are people who live there thousands of years. They do not have equal rights to the immigrants who coming from Europe and America because they are Jews, and those people who live there, they're not Jews. They're either Muslim or Christian or whatever. Or as long as they are not Jews, they don't get the same right. They don't get free land. They don't get free. And the claim that is made here is that the God is racist. God gave these people, God chose these people and give them free land and money. So the claim is God. See, all these claims are to fool the fools. So I'm trying to give the information. You can research all of this. Why do we call them Zionists? Of course, that's because they're trying to go after only one religion. So America supports a racist, apartheid, Zionist regime in the Middle East, guns and arms with American taxpayers, like $4 billion of American taxpayers' money goes to Israel every day, plus other supplements. And then United States support the dictators with England, with Europeans, basically topple these democratically elected governments in the Middle East, put a puppet dictator in power like Egypt, like Jordan, like Emirates, like Bahrain, and then they oppress their own people, and for oppressing their own people, United States gives them arms and weapons and Secret Service CIA protection and have two navies protecting these people at the expense of American taxpayer, and then bring those people on a show and sit with the racist apartheid regime of Israel. There's a terrorist regime, and they sit and they discuss and they sign treaty, and US says we are promoting human rights, democracy, and freedom by uh, creating peace between puppet dictators or who's not elected and a racist apartheid regime. So And this is creates more enemies in the long run. Maybe at the time you can fool some of the people some of the time, but you cannot fool all the people all the time. So that is why it creates problem. Now, the reason I'm saying this you can research them to create peace. Why we create peace? Because the way it's going right now, as you know, there are these terrorist activities you hear all around the news here and there, and then you see U.S. goes assassinate the Iranian general, then Israel goes assassinate their scientists, but they're not going to sit and take it. See, Iran has been in existence, civilization has been there for over 150,000 years. United States has been only here 500 years or 240 years as a country. And Europe has only been there, England like 1500 years, 1400. You see, these and they've been a fraction of it. So they've lasted those many years. They've been doing something right. They have experience. They have influence all over Middle East, all the way from North China to North Africa, from Mediterranean to the Red Sea. If you read the history of Persians, Iranians, they have influence in there. They have assets there. They have loyalists there that they're going to eventually respond, and then more people gonna kill. I am trying to prevent killing. I'm trying to prevent terrorism by saying that this kind of policy is wrong. Now, I tell you what's the right policy. Let me give you a little more right now. So, Iraqis have asked, Parliament has voted US to leave. Why US doesn't leave? That's why, and then US complains that the Iraqis throw rockets at us or attack us because they don't want you to occupy their country. It is their country, Iraqis, and their parliament, who is elected by the majority of Iraqis, have voted for you to leave. So what's the excuse? If you believe in democracy, human rights, and freedom, then you should respect your own what you do, what you preach. This is a proof that this is a lie. But who pays the price? We pay the price. Our societies become unsafe. You know, we can't travel around the world as Americans, and we get endangered because the people who make these decisions, they are those billionaires. They have their bodyguards, they have their motorcade, they're hiding their bunkers. Like Trump goes into a bunker and hides, and then he orders all poor people, young kids, to go get killed because he wants to give billions to his family to buy a $30 million house, whereas like millions of Americans are homeless, hungry, don't have enough food to eat. You see how that goes? By depriving the deprived further. It's the same as slavery, actually, that it was 150 years ago in America. 150 years ago, this country, the government, the United States, would put chain on the legs of people. The country is built on the graves of the American Indians. There were 140 million American Indians when America was discovered 500 years ago. Right now, there are less than 5 million Indians, American Indians. Why is that? I mean, a population of 140 million 500 years ago, it should be more than 2 billion today, more than a billion today. But they massacred, they killed all of them. The same thing America is supporting to is being done in Palestine. They're killing those natives there too. But the difference between Indians and the Palestinians is the Palestinians have a belief called Islam, their religion, that they believe that if they die protecting their home, they go to heaven. Now, Indians didn't. Indians would they start giving them free whiskey. They make such a bunch of drug addicts out of them, and then kill them, and they call them savages. But the savages actually were the Europeans who killed those people. But see who says here depends who says what. But the Palestinian, the mistake US is making in West Asia, basically, they have a religion who forbids them from drinking, so they won't drink whiskey to become addict, and they're willing to die for their home, which Indians weren't. So that is not going to, Israel is not going to succeed there. I give you solution as we go along, but still let me give you this. So US is in, look at Afghanistan. US went into Afghanistan 20 years ago, United States government, to overthrow the terrorists they created themselves, like Taliban. You know, US with Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, and Emirates, and those Arab puppet dictators, they create these Taliban to fight Soviets as Hillary Clinton. I have a video on there, a short video in my channel you can listen to. And they created those now United States, but the excuse of 9/11, 9/11 went into Afghanistan to overthrow, to kill Taliban. Now he's negotiating with Taliban and making a deal at the price of the Afghan people, at the despair of the government who has some democracy in there. Because the government of Afghanistan who came after invasion of United States is kind of broken democracy, but at least is a start, is good. But United States is actually giving the government to the Taliban to put the Taliban back in the power as long as Taliban doesn't attack them. So, let the United States live in one piece out of Afghanistan. She hasn't won anything. That's what I'm saying. All this money is spent in Afghanistan. Look at in Syria, 500,000 people killed. U.S. tried to topple Bashar Assad, but Syrians fought. Syrian army fought, and now they won. U.S. lost too. U.S. lost in Afghanistan, lost in Iraq, lost in Syria. U.S. was able to destroy the country, but as long as you're not able to hold land, you lost the war because destruction. A kid can run around the house and break everything, but as long as the kid doesn't build anything, it's not going to do nobody any good, only waste. So United States wastes almost $8 trillion in the Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, and Yemen. Right now they're killing those Yemenis. And Lebanon and has got nothing, is on the run, actually. They try and get out of Afghanistan safe phase. And Iraq have voted for them to leave. They don't leave, they're going to force them out the same way they forced them out earlier. But more people are going to get killed. The same with them too is in Syria. If they can get out of Syria, more people are going to kill. More Syrians, more Americans. This history shows us. It's not that I'm making this up. I'm talking based on the history I've read. Truman well said, future is unknown about the future is the history we have not read. So we need to read the history if we want to know what happens in the future. History shows up. These Western regimes, they were in these countries a few years ago, but each of them, after a while, they either kill them to get out, they push them out, or the ones who were smart, they got out before too many of them die. So but the thing is, the people who making money, profit of this, those handful billionaires in United States who buy a home for $30 million, like Trump's son-in-law and the other, or the defense contractors which are around Trump and criminals Trump, which freeze them, freeze them like let them go, like the freedom, like Stone and those other people. You see here on the news, past few days, you see how many people he pardoned, and you look at their records. They have tax evasion, they have conspiracy. These are crimes that some people are in jail for all of their life for these kind of things, or they die in jail for these crimes. But these people, because they are in the Trump circle, they get free. And the same way, so I'm saying this for this people to know that they should not go fight for killing peasants around the world, thinking they're defending their country. America is here. The borders of America is Mexico, Canada, Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. We should defend these borders. When you defend these borders, that's defending America. Now you're killing peasants in Afghanistan or Iraq or Syria or Yemen, you're not defending America. Actually, you're endangering them, America. You're creating more terrorism that's going to more hurt America. Now, let me give you the solution quickly. In my other videos, I usually say this, but I try to be brief. The solution is to in America bring basically the countries that America has troops in. Let those people, those parliaments have democratically get elected. Let the government to be elected by the people. Let democracy prevail, and then ask those governments who represent or elected by their people or the parliaments. If those parliaments or the government votes U.S. troops to leave, then U.S. should leave and bring their money and spend it in America. Right now, America, as I told you, there are millions of Americans are homeless. They don't have food to eat. They're sick. We have the highest number of deaths. If the money that Trump invested in the military, making bigger bombs, if he had spent that into making more PPEs, providing insurance for the people who can afford it, medical care, a lot less Americans would die. Why would the Americans have to die for Trump to make billions of dollars more, or his base or people around him? That is unfair, what I'm saying. So US can resolve the issue in the Middle East. If he wants to solve the problem with Iran, you should take the excuse away. Iran, in Israel, there are like almost 4 million Palestinians, native born who have been there for thousands of years. They live in Gaza and West Bank, almost 4 million. There are about a couple of million live inside Israel. That's about 6 million. There are about 4 or 5 or 6 million Jews in there too, who come from the Europe. The ones who have been born there, all those people can get to US, tell them, okay, you guys are free to go ahead every 100,000, regardless of your religion, that you're Muslim, Jew, Christian, no, nobody. It doesn't matter. Every 100,000, one representative. Every 100,000 elect one representative, have a parliament. That parliament writes a constitution base, a secular constitution, not a religious constitution that only favors one religion over the other one. That's apartheid. That's racism. To have what is supposed to be a true democracy, secular. Then they elect a parliament. Parliament writes a constitution. They either have a parliamentary government or a president, elect a president. By vote of the majority, the country elect a president, and the parliament can also elect a prime minister. So have a president and a prime minister. Prime minister elected by the parliament, parliament elected by the people, and that president also elected by the majority of the people, not this electoral bullshit here that is another crook system to force onto people what the system who the system wants, not who the people elect. If people elect by majority of the vote a president, that should be the president. Now, this electoral system is because the system in US is corrupt too. It wants to put the person that is loyal to the system, not to the people, over the people, not the person that's elected by majority of the people. That is a true democracy. So even US, I think, is not a true democracy too. They're fooling the fools with this. So now, what we say, the reason I said that in the U.S. is not because this electoral college. Look at Hillary Clinton, like brought 3 million more votes than Trump, but Trump winning. Like Al Gore brought more votes than Bush, but Bush got elected. See, but the majority Americans voted for Al Gore. Majority American voted for Hillary Clinton. And now, majority American here voted for Biden too, but a lot more had to vote twice as much to win. And that is unfair, I think. That's not the correct system, and that is another evil agenda, satanic. So now let's, having said that, so the problem in the racism in the Middle East gets resolved, the issue of Israel gets stopped, the terrorism ends, because Israel is the one behind attacking all the countries around it, because the ideology of Zionism is not only limited to the Palestine Israel. Israel doesn't have a border. Borders are defined part of north of Saudi Arabia, Jordan, all of those, all the way up to the Persian Gulf, Iraq, majority of Iraq and Syria. Those Israel considers all of those as the greater Middle East as part of Israel. Zionism wants to control, take over that area, make it one country, big country is called Israel. That's the intention of building Israel. And that's why all these wars are never going to stop, because those people are not going to stop fighting for their countries. So these wars keep on going forever until either Israel come to their senses and they have election there, which everybody can participate, a secular government, or all of those nations in those countries, which are like about, we're talking about 200 or 300 million people, they all get basically like Indians. They get ethnic cleansing, they cleanse them. So this war, imagine the difference. But the difference between, that's not going to succeed there, what happened with Indians in America, because in the West Asia, in the Middle East, those people have a religion which is called Islam, which is not going to let that happen, as you know. Even all of majority of them have to be killed, I would say 80 of them, and then they have the same weapons. Pakistan has atomic bomb, Iran has atomic technology, they are advanced too. They can hit back. As we see right now, US is losing in that area, lost money and is packing. So before to eliminate this terrorism, to discontinue this, to diminish this terrorism in there, to waste money and waste lives and put Americans in danger, is resolve the Palestinian-Israeli issue through votes, not even firing a single bullet, because that problem does not have a military solution. Military solution is what we see: terrorism, wars, killing. Keep on going, and it's going to get worse. But if they come, all of them join in the area between Jordan and the Mediterranean Sea and Lebanon and Egypt, that little stretch between Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, and Mediterranean. That land used to be called Palestine. People that live in that land, as I said, there are about probably 5 or 6 million Palestinians, 5 or 6 million Jews, or maybe 4 million who were born there, maybe less. Combine all of them, elect a secular government, prime minister, president, and then they can decide what to do with the immigrants who came from Europe or US. And put immigration law, and they come there, they live there, they want to give them citizenship, live there. That's up to the government. I'm sure maybe if they have lived there, they have family there, they have kids born there, so they can live there too. But at least there will be peace, because through racism, there will never be peace, and this is a racist government. So the problem would be resolved, and problem in the West Asia would be resolved to great extent, and US leaves that area, bring its military home, and don't have American kids get killed or get, and American resources get wasted, taxpayers on that, and they spend their resources inside America. Spend it on what? Spend it on healthcare, education, infrastructure to make American lives better. Chinese are doing that. They are winning. See, they're taking over the world. United States is getting entangled in these endless wars, killing and destruction, because the United States government wants only a handful of people to make money. The rest of them don't care for they die. But Chinese are the other way around. They want the majority of their people live well. So they don't entangle themselves in wars and stuff. They go invest in projects in building. Look at from Africa to Asia. Look at the Chinese investments. As China is growing and investing more money and taking over those countries through investment, not through its military, through investment, joint ventures, and working with the people of that countries, those countries. United States works with puppet dictator and racist regimes. American youth get killed. In America become unsafe. American resources are going to be wasted. So this is the future is darker and darker and darker, unfortunately. During these happy times, I hate to say this, but these are reality. If we do not stop this, if we do not do something about our government, basically, maybe through our senators, talk to them or try to see who we can vote for and be alert, it's going to get darker and darker, and the work is going to be unsafer, unsafer for us, and we're going to get poorer, poorer, while the Chinese going to get richer and grow bigger and bigger. We want America to be great. Okay, this is my videos. This video, I'm gonna first I say how to make America great. This is how you make America great, not through wars, terrorism, occupation, invasion, destruction, supporting terrorism around the world, to enrich a handful of people. You make America great by enriching all Americans through peace, through investment, not through invasion occupation. Bring the troops home. If Iraqis don't want you to be there, bring those troops home. Afghans don't want you to be there. That's why killing Americans in Afghanistan. Bring the troops home. Let them fight it among themselves until they elect their own government. There is a deal with them through United Security Council. And don't support dictators in Saudi Arabia. The Saudi Arabia MBS is a journalist butcher. A journalist from Washington uh, newspaper, um, Washington Post, was Khashoggi, a journalist from Saudi Arabian journalist. He just said he wished they had Saudis had elections in Saudi Arabia just like we do in United States. Then the government of Saudi Arabia didn't like that. They lured him into an embassy in Turkey, Ankara, and they butchered the guy like mafia, and they buried him around town. And Trump supported. Trump is pardoning bunch of mafia criminals around him. As you see who is go study, research or search the names of the people Trump is pardoning, and then read about them, see if they are criminal or not. So Trump himself is a criminal with the mafia too, because he goes assassinate the Iranian general. He wants to make him scare them so they can negotiate with him. But he's stupid. That way, right now, by killing General Soleimani of Iran, he probably multiple that to millions. Right now, probably if not thousand millions. Just look at in Iraq on the news. During his anniversary of his assassination, is going to be January 3rd. Right now, as in Iraq, I was watching news on the internet. American news don't show that. American news here is a show, it's not the news. They show you the underwear of some actress, or the how many boyfriend others, or dog falling together. They want to entertain people, basically. They want to make people ignorant, the American news, or the news media in America. That's the mainstream media. If you want to know what the news is really going on, go internet and do search. Watch our adversaries, see what they say. Watch our own news too, and then read between the lines and do research on the live in the online and Google about subjects. And you get various resources, and then you read. I mean, people are smart; they can figure out which is truth, which is bad, which is incorrect, or lie. But then you know what is going on in the world in the name of America. That's why America, we have so many enemies. We can get this resolved very easily by, as I said, by respecting the right of other people to choose their own government. And when we deal with the representative government, rather than supporting puppet dictators in Saudi Arabia, in Emirates, in Bahrain, and make a show insulting the intelligence of everybody, because Trump is stupid himself. He thinks all the people are stupid too, because he just sees the people from his own eye, intelligence level. And he brings with three or four dictators, like a show, sit there, they sign something, and these people represent nobody. One of them is a racist regime. On the other side, you got puppet dictators who are oppressing their own people to stay in the power. If the United States do not support them 24 hours, let those people free, see if they're going to be the first person they're going to hang is going to be their leaders as traders in those countries. So why do we, and this is going to go worse and worse. The same revolution is going to happen in those countries if this continues, like Iran, and then they're going to become our enemy. That way. Right now, if we do it peacefully, help them have true democracy, elect their own leaders, and then eliminate the racism in the region through our power rather than support it with billions of dollars. Those people are going to love us. They're going to become our friends. And people like Chinese, we can go invest there, and every American is going to be safer and is going to be richer. Not only a few here become richer, they don't know what to do with the money, and the rest go hungry and disease and die by tens of thousands a day. It's not going to happen. This is going to be resolved peacefully. So I want to wish you a best holiday there is. I hope the next year would be a better year. But from what I see, unless the policy of the United States government internally, especially externally, uh, foreign policy um, does not change, the next year is going to be much more dangerous than this year, with coronavirus disease or other disease, the way it's going on. The only way we're going to have a better future and better year is by changing our policies toward a more peaceful situations, basically, by respecting other people's right to believe what they want, to choose their own leaders, to have a saying in their own future and destiny. If we respect that for other people, we will be safer and we will be richer. And then we won't have that many death and destruction. Well, thank you very much for listening, and I wish everybody happiness. And I hope next year is a better year. But as I said, in order to be, we have to make those changes. This is what I have concluded. I hope I have been able to enlighten some people and help promote peace and coexistence. Thank you very much, and talk to you guys later.